Okay, folks, it's approaching 8 o'clock a.m., September 19th, and I did sit for just a short while outside, and that was good. And in the back of my mind, I wondered what a combination of events they might be. I made that recording thanking folks for the fact that I actually received in hand the bread. I would look at it this way: I received the bread from the baker and so on. That's what happened. I did not receive Christian bread. I don't know what that would taste like, but let me tell you, I haven't been able to respect much about that. As you know, there's no surprise that Alexander City is not in the hands of anybody else. Maybe a bunch of atheists, or maybe fake Christians, or whatever, sincere Christians. It doesn't matter. But so no, I can't make any useful comparisons. I presume it is a presumption. I presume there are Christians all over the place, and that they may have a lot to do with the way I suffer. Anyway, there were immediate dispensations online. I made the recording this morning about bread, and sure enough, dispensations followed. Well, I won't go into that, but I will mention that there was no breakfast served. When I returned to my room, I went past the dining room. There was no breakfast there, and then there's no breakfast here in the room. I stayed in Aniana for over 3 years in a place called Olive, and I learned after about a year to stop asking for anything. They stole even the clothes what few I could wear. I bought some new clothes, they stole them too. Did that more than once. Here, I think the reason I'm allowed to have clothes is because they figure if they wash the few that I have, then sure enough, I might sit in the rocking chair and look at their NASCAR event. That's, I think, the trade-off. I don't think there's much else. Well, they got that this morning, but I guess what I'm going to do, the monk's bread had made such a difference in my physical well-being overnight that I think I'm going to cherish what I have. I'll order some more today, but in the meantime, I guess I'll look online and try to buy 2 Arby's sandwiches. About the only people who deliver. A lot of people promise to deliver, but the only people who've really had a strong record is the Arby place. I guess I could try the Dairy Queen, the one that said we don't deliver to your address. Isn't that bureaucratic? I mean, they're closer than Burger King or Arby's. But anyway, after a few days, I think I mentioned, just by coincidence, the delivery of an Arby's meal turned out to be from the hands of a nice person who turns out to be the manager of the Dairy Queen. And she said, "Give us a try." I said, "Well, I'll try to do that." And then I said, "But I tried to do that, and the bureaucratic answer was, we don't deliver to your address." And she was astonished. She was, I think, genuinely astonished when it happened. Whether she was astonished, while acting the part here of a DoorDash delivery, I don't know. But anyway, I might give them a try. But I can't afford the usual theft, so maybe not. But anyway, what I'll do is order some more bread and really just rely on that, I guess, because the people here, I watched, when I got back to the room, sure enough, the headline offering was something called "Not Welcome," something about the gypsies are not welcome in Ireland. Well, of course, I could never think, well, I'm welcome here. You know, I've told you, I think the way they think is that a glob of potter's clay has been dumped on their potter's wheel. Come in. Oh, here comes breakfast. Well, good, thank you. I appreciate that. What this morning? Some pancakes?
Pancakes.
Oh, all right. Yeah, thank you for that.
I got your syrup in that little cup right there.
A cup of the
Syrup.
maple syrup.
Yeah.
Fantastic. There are too many glasses here. You see that? I don't know why. All right. Thank you very much. I look forward to pancakes. You know, I shouldn't. You know, it's a sin to eat a pancake, isn't it?
No,
Is it all right?
we done all seen.
That's right. That's right. Well, but I like pancakes, and as a diabetic, they're good for me.
Yeah.
I don't know. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now, from what I see here, scrambled eggs, 1 sausage, and 3 pancakes have been delivered. And yeah, the pancakes warm. So she saw me walk by and made that and then brought that here. So that's terrific. I can't tell you, you know, I'm really pleased. Of course, I prefer bacon and not sausage, but you know, there's always negative factors. Isn't that true? You know, I saw a kid doing algebra with his dad on TV. You know, another concession. I won't talk about the ones that I recognize by name, but anyway, you know, I have no use for that. But I like the idea and the abstract of kids learning algebra, you know. Or what, getting a pilot's license at 16? I think that's an excellent idea. And so on. That's not my business. But anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, I spent a year in Olive, you know, owned by the same thug that is hurting me here. And I learned to stop asking for clothing because I was not going to have any. And sure enough, I didn't. I was able to get a hold of paper shirts. And at the time, they furnished diapers. So I had my diapers and my paper shirts for over 2.5 years. And I didn't leave my room. Now they made a concession so that I could theoretically watch NASCAR. Oh, but then what? The game now is all about the court annex and whether I'll have a telephone, and I've stopped asking. It's been 10 goddamn weeks, and the thug has simply stopped even answering messages. Just completely silence and nothing. So the last outrage was to be jerked around by somebody who was lying, you know, about whether the place was open. Spent all morning. Most unpleasant to get there too and find the door shut. Now, I guess it's possible that they said, yeah, we're open, and then they shut down. What's more logical? That someone of the, what is this, Willow's persuasion was lying. That there was no call to see when they would be open. I have the man's name in my record here, the guy who said, now let me caution you, call ahead because I'm not always here. And so before we got in the damn truck, I said, did you call ahead? I was told, yes, I called ahead. Here we go. Well, the place was closed, and since then there's been nothing. And no telephone, and no benefits of having a telephone, and so on. I can't correct any number of errors that that have cropped up, you know. I mean, what? Calling down Houston, you have too many problems. And I have more than my share of your problems. Well, I guess I'd better not say anything like that. Anyway, I am very sincerely grateful for the three pancakes, scrambled eggs, some maple syrup, and one sausage. I would have preferred 2 strips of bacon, but that's the way things go. And of course, the ice water, because that's all there is. Except that they do have skim milk to go with Cheerios when that's been the order of the day. Otherwise, I would just do without. I'm not interested in skim milk. But it's okay for the Cheerios. Well, anyway, as I say, I felt really good this morning when I woke up. For the first time in weeks, I attribute it to the Misc bread. Let me just say, it's the baker's bread, and the baker attributes his abilities to the fact that he's a practicing Christian. Fine. That's fine. So sometime this morning, obviously it doesn't make much difference. Sometime this morning, for sure, though, I ought to put in another order for Misc bread. And I know it'll take a while, and then the odds always remain about 50-50. It doesn't do any better than that about things that are delivered to me. For example, much food was ordered and never delivered to me in Aniana, and much stolen beyond clothing, to say the least. Much stolen by the time I got to this room. Not much was brought here from where it was. And the wreckage remains essentially untouched. Why? Because I know that a goon still controls events. And I don't mind the magic understanding that he has. He doesn't mind being what he is. Nobody tells him he shouldn't be what he is. And so dispensations about whether or not some other religion is better is really kind of rich, isn't it? Maybe if I claimed to have received delivery of bagels, I would be told whether or not the Buddhist people are good or bad. What? No, the Canadians have two words that matter a lot to me. Notwithstanding and nevertheless. And nevertheless is very famous in their tradition. But that doesn't seem to be the case of some. How many? Is there anybody with access who is not wearing the hat of behavioralism? And if so, how? Cockamamie style or what? I can't say. I do know that if you want to talk to the monks, you can do that on your own time, it seems to me. But then my time is your time for anything or nothing at all, isn't it? Could I have been saying, golly gee whiz, I watched a 90-minute program, it made me feel so much better that I went off and ordered some fried chicken. Well, I guess that wouldn't be good enough. And I think that's very unlikely, although I think technically Chick-fil-A is fried, isn't it? I do like Chick-fil-A. But anyway, I'm going to shut this down and start sending it. It's it's going to be over 15 minutes by the time I shut this down. And then I'll, upload to YouTube. I haven't really done what I said I would do, which is to skip the business of posting to Facebook. I've generally continued with that, but in principle, I'd like to say that it seems to me that, you know, it's just a lot of trouble. Maybe I should just post to YouTube and leave it at that. Because be just that much less busyness. Although I've always felt, well, there it is. I can share it on Facebook so easily once it's already on YouTube. So I've done that anyway. But I don't know. I'm annoyed by cause and effect, or the appearance of cause and effect sometimes, um, because I am trivialized and talked down to with no useful distinction between people. You either make a difference or not, and what are you waiting for? Monk's bread? I have to feel better, but I can't feel better as I did this morning without having been mistreated for weeks on end. And then what? One thing leads to another. It's like those jokes that they used to make about, you wade ashore and then you're handed a life preserver. Oh, gee, thanks. Well, now, I'm chiding some people. You know very well, my favorites are obvious online, and that doesn't mean I want to watch everything that they might offer. But, and very often I don't watch some of the stuff, but because they're terribly busy with something beyond my endurance, and that's largely the truth. I've always, been able, well, let's say not always, but years ago, if I stumbled in on something that was, what, particularly gruesome, I didn't find myself physically so strung out that I couldn't persevere. But now, what would persevering mean? It's not the same today, is it? Well, anyway, I digress, and I'll shut up now. It's over 18 minutes. And, well, for one more chance here, I'll say thanks for the monk's bread, and if that means anybody's inspired to share some old tapes, well, maybe I'll benefit or maybe not. I can't say. It's not for me to say what I don't know about.